Faith Putman.
I'm Shreya Ayanola.
And I'm Sava Ali.
And we're DECA students from Lake Travis High School. DECA is a business organization that supports emerging leaders in the areas of hospitality and tourism, marketing, management, finance, and entrepreneurship.
We are the financial literacy team from Lake Travis High School, and this year we made it our goal to educate our fellow classmates about paying for post-secondary education.
The purpose of our project was to raise awareness for financial aid and show students where they can find it.
As high school seniors, it became glaringly evident to us that most high school students have no idea where to begin when it comes to paying for post-secondary education. Post-secondary education is defined as any form of education beyond high school. This includes colleges, universities, community colleges, as well as career, trade, and technical schools. That's why we have created this documentary to demonstrate the knowledge gap between high school students and financial aid experts.
We decided to focus on three main areas to fully educate our target market about paying for post-secondary education. Those three areas are FAFSA, scholarships, and loans.
We conducted street interviews with members of our community in order to test their knowledge about financial aid. After conducting extensive research, we decided on these 5 questions that truly encompassed all of the information about financial aid that we wanted to convey to our audience.
What is FAFSA?
Government-funded help.
It's like that government thing where you get free money.
Okay. It's when you fill out with the federal government the form, you do it and your parents do it based on their taxes, and you both have an ID, and that is what they base your financial aid, whether you qualify for financial aid or not. And everybody should fill one out, even if they don't qualify, even if they know that their parents make over $100,000, because they'll get denied scholarships if they don't fill it out.
Do you know what FAFSA is?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Some kind of senior financial aid thing.
FAFSA is the form that you fill out to get financial aid, like especially from the government and state schools.
Yeah.
And it qualifies you for some schools merit aid as well. So you can do it always.
Give the government your numbers and they tell you how much aid you qualify for.
Free financial aid.
This is a giveaway question. I'll give you $5 if you can tell me what the FAFSA acronym stands for.
Federal aid for students, no. Financial aid for, no. Federal aid, I guess you're gonna keep your money.
Federal Aid for Students Association?
Federal aid. Financial student assistance. I don't know.
What is what?
FAFSA.
FASTA?
FAFSA. It's an acronym. Do you know what it is?
No.
Federal, academic, financial, service, I don't know.
For all students for academics.
Federal financial assistance for super awesome.
Okay. Financial application for student aid.
What is the difference between a subsidized and unsubsidized loan?
This is a good one. Subsidized would mean that, you think I would know this by now. Subsidized would mean that they will subsidize your loan with additional monies. Unsubsidized would be that you don't have any collateral put up for your loan.
I can take a guess. Subsidized probably means that. Actually, no, I don't know.
A subsidized student loan means that you have to pay it off in a less amount of time.
Subsidized, you do not have to pay back. Unsubsidized, you do.
Of course, everybody does. The government pays the interest for you on a subsidized loan. Unsubsidized, they don't.
Okay.
No.
No. Okay. Not really?
True or false? Colleges and universities won't give you any money if your total household income is greater than $100,000.
I think not.
That is false.
Yes.
True.
Okay.
So they probably won't.
False.
What is the standard interest rate on undergraduate student loans as of 2016?
Another blank. I have no idea.
13.5%.
Would it be around 9%?
Wait a minute, I just paid my student loans. Isn't it like 5%?
2016.
2%.
About 5%.
Okay.
Decision making for financial aid begins with what comes first. Where are you going and what are you going to spend your money on? So we're talking about the college that you're going to attend, and the cost of that college is probably the most profound decision that you made. It's the most important decision that you make. So there are thousands, literally thousands of universities and colleges across the United States. So question number one is, what can you afford? Now, that can be a great range because colleges can cost everything from, quite honestly, taking dual credit courses in high school for free or for $150 a course, all the way up to highly competitive, highly exclusive colleges that may cost $10,000 a course to take, let alone fees and living expenses and traveling expenses and all of the associated fees of going to college. So your first and most important decision is, where are you going to go to undergraduate school? And you hate to be too limiting on it, but question number one is, what is your degree going to be in? Are you going to come out with that degree being able to pay back the loan that you take out? Beloved, if you want to be a counselor, I'll work with you all day long. You're not going to make a lot of money doing that. And we need to find you a very reasonable place to go to college if that's what you want to do. If you want to major in psychology or sociology, if you want to be a writer, there are a lot of wonderful careers, but you're not going to make a whole lot of money, and therefore you shouldn't, as an associated decision, you shouldn't borrow a lot of college attendance money because it's going to take you a long time, if forever, to pay it back. And as I've mentioned before, you can come out after 4 years of college owing $40,000, $60,000, $150,000. And when you start looking at what the monthly payment of that is, that's a significant amount of money. That may be a whole nother topic that we do, which is calculating what your monthly payment is going to be on your college loan so that you can get a reality check of what kind of money you're borrowing. So decision number one is, where are you going to go to school? Now, there are a lot of ways to get those things paid for. Oftentimes, public schools may be less per semester hour in cost, but private schools may cost more per hour, but they may offer more merit-based or scholarship type money. So we can't make the decision straight out on public or private, and that's why it's a good idea when you're making application to college that you apply relatively broadly, maybe 5 or 6 schools, some of them being public, where they're going to be at the least amount of money that one would think they would cost, and then some of them might be private schools. And then depending on what assets you bring to it, what merit you bring to it, because those are all going to be merit scholarships, depending on the merit that you bring to it, we can make a better calculation about what your total scholarship will be. So FAFSA. FAFSA is a federal application that everyone needs to complete. It's most universities, I'm going to jump out there and say 99% of universities are going to require FAFSA. Now, FAFSA is, that's federal financial aid for university, but it is not a way to pay for college. It's a way to cover essentials. If you get a fully funded FAFSA scholarship, I'll use those words, you might get about $5,000 a year. Now, the general cost of college starts at about roughly $20,000. Can I find you? Am I a shopper? Can I find you a less expensive place? I might be able to. But most colleges start about $20,000 a year, and they run upward to $40,000, $60,000, $80,000 a year, possibly even more. We all know who those really expensive ones are. So, but all of those schools are going to still require you to apply for and submit the FAFSA to the university. So you go on FAFSA, F-A-S-S-A, FAFSA.gov, and you complete the application. Student has to complete their FAFSA application, and then the parent must complete their application. If the parents are not together, both parents have to complete the FAFSA. It's required. There are a variety of ways to complete the FAFSA. You can do a paper copy and submit it, or you can do a non-online version of it and mail it in, but obviously that's going to take a long time for them to complete. The way you'd like to do it is complete the FAFSA, the student completes the FAFSA document, the parent completes their FAFSA component and links it through to their IRS, to their tax return, and then the tax return downloads into the parent's FAFSA application. Then all of that data is pre-approved. Then from that, the FAFSA does its calculation about what's called the EFC, the estimated family, did I say EFC? The estimated family contribution. The estimated family contribution is the amount of money that the federal government thinks that the family should pay toward the cost of the college education. If your family income is around $60,000 or less, then you can anticipate that you'll have a fully funded FAFSA scholarship or FAFSA money toward federal funding toward college. And that's where you get to about $5,000 a year, roughly. That's not enough to pay for college. It may also be a component of it. You may get $3,000 a year. You may get offered Stafford loans. Stafford loans are low interest loans. Now, and that's a whole nother conversation, so we'll come back to loans in a minute. But that's what FAFSA is. Once you've completed the FAFSA, the students completed their component, the parents completed their component, then there's a little drop-down menu on the application, and you have the information sent to your university. So you can choose them over and over again. You can go back in later. If you put in, you know, I'm going to UT and Texas State and Texas A&M and Texas A&M Commerce, and you put those 4 in, and then a month later you decide that you're going to go to UT San Antonio, you can go back in and add UT San Antonio. That allows the FAFSA unit to, or the government agency, to now send your data to that university. So they send your FAFSA EFC to that university. Now the university takes that EFC number and calculates what your federal aid is going to be at the college level, and then what the total cost to the family is going to be. Now we're going to talk about scholarships. So there are 2 types of scholarships. There are merit-based scholarships, and then there are need-based scholarships. Need-based scholarships are essentially based in the FAFSA data. So let me refer you back to the FAFSA unit, learn about FAFSA. So once you've completed your FAFSA, you may qualify at your university for a certain need-based scholarship based on the calculation of your FAFSA. But again, the FAFSA calculates based on not just how much money your family makes, but they also calculate how many students are in school and, you know, other expenses that the parents may have and that the student may have and all of those sorts of things. But based on that, you're going to come out with that calculation called the estimated family contribution, and the EFC determines what need-based scholarship money you may be eligible for at a specific university. So we have an EFC and we have a student and a family and an EFC number, and now we have all of these different universities that the student may have applied to. That EFC may be used to calculate need-based scholarships in a different way at each one of the different universities that the student applies to. So, but still the university wants that EFC number. That's why it's imperative that each student complete the FAFSA and send that information in, because each school is going to determine, as it were, it gives you as a student an identity compared to everybody else that applies to the college. And it's a commonality, because GPAs are not the same, and cost of living is not the same in all cities across the United States, and universities are certainly not the same. But EFC can now make a common identity for every student that's applying to college across the United States based on one set of data that goes into the IRS and to FAFSA, to the federal application for student aid. So now that they've got your EFC, now they can take a student from Texas and a student from Massachusetts and a student from Washington, and they compare you all together based on your financial need. So that's how need-based scholarships are determined. And Harvard may have a fund for minority students that they take the EFC and then they take the minority capacity of the student and they determine that there's need-based, even though the EFC for this student may be higher than another student, but they're not in that minority group. So different universities may use that need-based scholarship in different ways. All right, so need-based scholarships are ones that are used based on your EFC. The other kind of scholarship is called a merit scholarship. Merit scholarships can be, so football scholarships, an NCAA scholarship is a merit-based scholarship. You're going to the university and you're bringing a skill set with you. I can do this. University wants me to come and do this for them. I can kick a football. We all can relate to this. I can kick a football. Therefore, I'm going to be offered a scholarship. I'm going to go to the university. I'm going to kick the football, and they're going to pay for my university education. That's a merit-based scholarship. But there are lots of other merit-based scholarships. I can take tests. I make really high scores on SATs and ACTs. Therefore, the university wants to be able to say, we have more National Merit Scholars than any other university in the country. Therefore, they're going to pay for my college education because they want to have that data on their record that they have that many National Merit Scholars. Well, maybe they don't have the most, but they still want National Merit Scholars to come. So they'll give full ride scholarships based on the fact that you're a National Merit Scholarship. Okay, well I'm neither a kicker nor am I a test taker, but I'm still a pretty good student. So this is an unexplored area of scholarship money that many people need to look at. What I see is that there is so much money sitting out there, and it is often based on things that you as a student could accomplish. Recently, I saw one university in specific. The student had made a 27 ACT, but when we went on the university website and started looking at their scholarships, what we discovered was if the student had a 29, a 30, or a 31, they would qualify for a lot of scholarship money. All the student had to do was take $50 to sign up for SAT, ACT, and 3 hours for a Saturday afternoon, and try a couple of times for that, and the student was able to jack their score up from a 27 up to a 30, and that qualified that student for a lot of merit scholarship money. It ended up taking their cost of tuition down significantly, and I think the total scholarship looked like something like $40,000 over 4 years, so about $10,000 a year. Well, let me tell you something. That's double what FAFSA is. There's no job available out here in Lakeway that makes that kind of money, because that was 3 hours and $50. And let's see, what is that an hour? That's about $15,000 an hour that student made by going back and taking that test score. Now, obviously, they have to maintain their grades once they're at the school, but I'm just saying, most all universities have merit aid available, and most of it is associated with test scores. So it's worth it to spend some Saturday time retaking those tests again. Even you take your test and you get in, so you have your admission score, but then you go back and you take some additional testing and see if you can't get that score really high and get some scholarship money from the university. The great untapped quantity of scholarship money sits with the universities. What do you need to do? Well, now that you're accepted at university A, B, or C, what do you need to do at that university to get scholarship money from them? Is it a test score? Maybe you don't have what it's going to take now, but once you get there in the fall for the first semester, maybe it's a matter if you'll make a 4-point in your major area, you'll now qualify for a scholarship. What do you need to do to get that merit aid? All right, let's talk local scholarships. We are very fortunate here at Lake Travis that we have a very generous community, and there are some local scholarships available. Most of those local scholarship applications will become active generally around 1st of February. Watch the website, watch our blog, watch the counseling website so that you don't miss that opportunity, and plus we announce it, through the announcements, to fill out the application. But we'll have an application we usually have at least one application that's called the local scholarship application. If you complete that one, now you're eligible for the Education Foundation and the Rotary Foundation and several of the other local scholarships. But do pay attention to those. They're not gigantic scholarships, but they're nice scholarships. They may run anything from $500 up to $1,000, $1,500. There are a couple of random ones that are like $2,500, and those are very nice scholarships. Some of them, for instance, the Lakeway Library gives a scholarship. Spicewood Art Association gives scholarships. As I mentioned, Rotary gives 7 or 8 named scholarships, memorial scholarships. The Lakeway Education Foundation Lake Travis Education Foundation gives probably 10 or 15 named scholarships. And you apply for those through the counseling office, and then we award those later on in the spring, usually late May, and at our honors assembly. So now, in addition to that, there are some other local scholarships that are listed on our website. For instance, Pedernales Electric Co-op. If you happen to have Pedernales Electric services at your house, you're part of the co-op. They give 15 $1,000 scholarships, and it's Lake Travis, Marble Falls, Johnson City essentially are the only people that are in Pedernales Electric, so it's not a highly competitive scholarship pool. So check for ones like that. Then there are the scholarships that are specific to certain things. Just had the I can't remember the specific name of the scholarship, but it's a choir scholarship. It's sponsored by a group of barbershop quartets, and Mr. Latimer has access to that scholarship. There are art scholarships. There are, I just received the scholarship for anyone going into education and teaching. So there are a lot of these little specific scholarships. Again, these are not big scholarships. They run, again, $500 to maybe $2,000, but they're nice little scholarships to cover the cost of books and things of that sort, and those can be very helpful to cover the incidental expenses associated with college attendance.
Hi, my name is Belle Portillo, and I am one of the counselors here at Lake Travis High School. Today I'm going to inform you a little bit about FAFSA. FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid, and that is all about college. The application does start October 1st. That's the most important because it did open up earlier. And you can also use prior years on income tax. So I always tell parents, because you can use the prior year, you can actually get in on it really early. So I'm going to talk about grants. Grants through FAFSA is free money for college, and it is need-based, and the federal government will actually make sure that you are on that application, and if you make over $50,000, usually you won't get so much aid. However, colleges do use FAFSA sometimes for merit-based scholarships, and so I always push kids to make sure that they're filling out their FAFSA. The other thing about the FAFSA, it also has loans involved in it where you can get loans through FAFSA, and one of them is a subsidized loan, which the government will pay the interest while the student is in school. That is the loan to go with. The unsubsidized one is the one with the interest where it's accruing while the student is in school and will have to be paid back at the end of it. So if you're going to apply for a loan, make sure it is a subsidized loan. So let's talk about scholarships. Scholarships are given through the colleges, and one of the things I always tell kids is you can always go to the financial aid website where they do have for the scholarships, what scholarships they have on there. Some of them are need-based and some of them are merit-based, and some of them are private scholarships that they have there. One of the things is that some colleges do use FAFSA for their scholarship application, and others don't. It's plain out of need-based, which means you still have to fill out FAFSA, and the other one, merit-based, it means with your grades. And so if your grades are good enough or your ACT or SAT is good enough, they will consider you for a merit-based scholarship. So let's talk about credit cards in college. When you go to college, every single credit card company is going to want you to open up a credit card. 1, you are 18. 2, they know you probably don't have a lot of money. And 3, they always try to throw in some kind of swag when you're actually applying. I always tell kids that are starting college, don't do it. 1, if it's not money that you actually have, it's really easy to get behind on it and have to pay interest at the end. Interests usually run anywhere between 17 to 29%. That's paying a lot of money at the end of it. So make sure that when you're looking at those credit card companies that are offering you free things, it's best probably to go to the bookstore and buy that flag or that t-shirt that's free instead of having to pay 26% on a credit card.
Our Know Before You Go campaign has 4 steps. Step 1 is to decide which avenue of post-secondary education is right for you. Step 2 is filling out the FAFSA. Step 3 is applying for scholarships. And finally, Step 4 is applying for loans as needed. With the help of our financial literacy team, students know before they go.